On the Newman Jets Audio Network, this is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Ceiling and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
Newman basketball is in the books for 2021-2022. Today, we will put a bow on the basketball season. It's episode 62 of the Jetcast, and we will start with Coach Drew of women's basketball. And in fact, Zach, if you want to come over and hand me my phone to make sure that it's on silent, because I don't want that to mess anything up as he checks the camera. Coach, congratulations. Thank you, sir. Year one is out of the way. How does it feel to get year one out of the way and get that under your belt here in Wichita?
Well, I think just, take some time to reflect on the year and what went well and what didn't and what you would change. And I think with every school and job, you going to take you just a second to figure out the best way to do things in each position. And so, that'll be a big off-season point of emphasis, is just trying to kind of, figure out what we want to do differently and what we want to do the same for year two.
That was actually the next question on my sheet here, was the lesson you learned, maybe the biggest lesson that you learned. So I guess let me rephrase that question on the fly here and say, what do you think is going to determine, once you guys have time to look back at the season, what do you think is going to determine, okay, this is the best lesson that we learned? Obviously, it is important to take time to kind of retrospect and look back and take a moment to kind of digest everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, to your question, I think the thing that we are going to for sure look back on is we weren't as far away from winning a few more games as the overall record is going to say. And so I think the biggest challenge will be what things held us back by 6 points or 4 points or whatever. And I think if you lose every game by 20, there's some big wholesale changes obviously that have to happen. But when you had a bunch of or some fourth quarter leads late in the season, and you were kind of getting close to being able to kind of knock down the door a few times. I don't know that there's these glaring issues in structure or the way we did things. You're just going to try to find some maybe fine-tune things that can help you, push down those last 4 or 6 points. In
post-game, which, by the way, we recorded, you can probably find that on the Newman University Facebook page with Sydney Nillis after the game that the Jets won earlier last week against Lincoln and then I think you said it again after the last post-game that we did and the loss to Pittsburgh State. You said you were so excited because this would be your first spring with the team. Mm-hmm. What excites you the most about being able to work with these young ladies in a spring for the full period for the first time? Well,
you have a pulse of who they are as players individually now and where they need to get better and where we as a team need to grow. And, you walk in the door in May, number one, everybody's kind of leaving at that point. Some school is basically out. And so you're trying to kind of watch film from last summer and give them a few things. Hey, this is what we see initially. But even then, you had some new players coming in. And so I think you finally have this kind of grasp on who we are and what we do well. And so trying to kind of find ways to improve that and do some individuals and small group stuff that's going to allow us to put kind of hands-on, growth and development for each individual player. And you mentioned that skill development, strength and conditioning. How important is that going to be during this springtime? Yeah, it's always important. And in this, basketball's a long year, so you spend a lot of time in this maintenance mode of, we're trying to get a little stronger, but you're also, trying to make sure that you don't, overdo it. You don't wear yourself out late in the year. You're trying to be as fresh as possible, and so you get a chance to take your foot off the gas here for a second and take a deep breath and relax. And then when we come back, it's time to get stronger, and that's a mode we haven't just been in for very long as a program.
One thing that obviously you're going to get to do for the first time as a staff is a full offseason of recruiting. What's your recruiting philosophy going to be? And obviously with the thought process that it can change, it can differ from year to year based on the needs of the program, based on philosophy changes. We've seen that with previous coaches. So at least in the early going, what's going to be your philosophy in terms of getting new Jets into the fleet?
Yeah, I think we're putting an absolute emphasis on competitiveness and just willingness to serve others. And those two things to me will help you every day in this program, continuing to grow and get better and fight for playing time and help us on the court be able to grow in practices. We felt like that got better as we were going this season, but it's definitely something that we want to continue to grow in as we recruit. And then just trying to kind of continue to increase the overall level of talent in the program so that every position is competitive for minutes and time, and you have to bring your best every day, and I think that's what every program is looking to do.
We'll talk with Coach R.J. Allen. He's coming up on this episode of the Jetcast to wrap up men's basketball. We've also got a women's tennis player coming up, so stay tuned for all of that. And coming up next for you, I know that you mentioned you've got some basketball you're going to be watching this week, but also some rest and relaxation. What do you feel like is going to be the thing that you're most looking forward to doing in terms of relaxing that you don't have time to do during the season?
Yeah, I think just trying to make sure we invest into kind of some family time. There's no way around it. You sacrifice a little bit of family time during the season, and yes, our family time is still basketball a lot, but trying to just make sure that Dax gets a little more time with me and Nicole than he maybe normally does, and obviously we have a very young son at home, so trying to make sure that we're spending the appropriate time with him as well, and that doesn't mean it super extravagant things right now, just kind of being there and being around and all of that. But Nicole and I recharge very differently. I definitely recharge with people. I enjoy talking and hanging out and being in groups of people. And Nicole would love to turn the lights off and watch some Netflix. So,
sure.
I think just trying to make sure we both are able to recharge our batteries a little bit for what will be a fast and furious spring.
And I understand that for you, some of that recharge is going to be happening perhaps on the Xbox.
Let's go. 2K, baby.
The NBA. So I guess what put you on? Are you a sport video game guy? Is that
not really? Honestly, COVID was an interesting time, right, where everybody's bored, and we had a bored might be the wrong word, but everybody's going through way different life.
Oh yeah,
and we had a 2.5 or 3-year-old at home, which I would tell anybody was very, very difficult in the middle of you can't go do anything. So we tried to pass some time with a little bit of Xbox, and to be honest with you, I've not been a gamer for very much of my life, and,
sure.
and I probably spend very little time on it. But from time to time, I enjoy jumping on and playing around, and I won't try to tell anybody I'm the greatest player ever. But
I mean, he actually did before we did today. But setting that aside, final question. What excites you the most about moving into year two, and as we look ahead to 2022, 2023, obviously players yet to find, but as you mentioned, and Coach Bernie and I mentioned on our final post game, there's a lot of bright spots, and there's a lot of potential coming back.
Yeah, I just think that's the key is the future needs to be exciting and needs to be something that we're all really, really working for, and hopefully it will be an opportunity to continue to grow what we hope we laid as a foundation. We talked a lot about character and culture this year. That was going to be the first foundation of this program and the first building block. As we continue to grow as players and with recruiting and current players continuing to grow their games, then you hope you increase the overall just kind of production on the court, and then you're kind of off and running. But character and culture were really, really important this year, and I have to give the biggest compliment to our team for just kind of how they embraced that and fought for that every day. And, highs and lows for everything, wins and losses and all of that stuff. But, I think you check a lot of boxes in year one, even without winning a bunch of games. And hopefully we've kind of established that footprint of who we're going to be and what we're going to do.
You're going to hear me say this a lot during this show, but what we do here in terms of our audio coverage, what we do on the Jetcast, we lean on the basketball coaches harder than any other programs, men and women. They're the most important programs at Newman. They're what draws the most interest. Newman's a basketball school. We couldn't do what we do, and we ask a lot of Coach Drew each and every week for pregame, Jetcast, coming back, talking after the games, and sometimes after games that they don't necessarily want to talk after. So, Coach, really appreciate your time throughout the entire year. So excited to see what the Jets have in store for us next season.
I appreciate it and echo that sentiment to you guys as well. It's great to have this kind of opportunity that a lot of places don't have. So we're fortunate and appreciate all the time.
Well, good luck with the 2K.
Thank you.
And on the recruiting trail
appreciate
as well.
it. We'll spend a little more time on recruiting than 2K.
Probably. We'll see what Coach Allen's doing in the offseason. He joins us next.
Life. It throws you curves and it knocks you down. But what separates the good from the great is the getting back up. Newman University will always get back up. We are a university of doers, of innovators, of transformers. We inspire as we soar to new heights. We will not be beaten. We will not settle for anything less than the best. We are Newman University.
Continuing to wrap up the basketball season, joined now by R.J. Allen of the men's basketball team. What a bright future they have, and what a great end to the season that they enjoyed with back-to-back wins. A perfect homecoming week. They win homecoming, they win senior day, and they played some spectacular basketball at first half against Lincoln, and then they really wrapped it up with a great end to the game against Pittsburgh State. Coach, with all the adversity that you and the guys had to suffer through and fight through this year, how great was it to get the 2 wins on a punctuation note to end the season in very different ways and in kind of showing some growth there in the last week of the season?
Yeah, it's always nice to be able to finish on a positive. The season, a lot of adversities for this crew.
Well, and that's the next thing on my list. You guys had so much happen this year, and you guys had just about everything in terms of coronavirus stoppages. You had personnel changes. You had a bus fire. Yeah. You had games where you didn't play as well as you were hoping. You had games where you played well enough to win, and the other team just played a little bit better. And I know a couple of games that you thought that you probably should have won and let slip away. So there's so much that happened this year. Do you need just a little extra time to try to get over a season like this?
Yeah, I think you do when you look back, and I think you have to take a step back and the kids had to go through it as well. Right, and so you want to, have a, somewhat, some sympathy for those guys. Like it was brutal. From the facet of guys being injured and really wanting to play, but physically, not able to go. And, there were some nights where you played extremely well and you came up short. It was nights where, you didn't have the answer and everyone's looking around like, what's going on. And then, you have COVID hit you at just a really difficult time after you win a game. Then it's a 2-week pause. Right before Christmas, we had a bus fire, which was
never have I been more happy to not be on the trip with you than during that one.
That was bizarre to say the least.
That's something. I mean, it feels like you almost need a vacation after something like that because there's no that's just not something that basketball teams go through.
No,
they don't go through. I mean, going through one of those things would be enough, but you guys went through all those things, and for a couple of times it was a couple of bouts of it.
Yeah, it was. It was like I said, it was difficult, and as a coach, you're trying to prepare them, and you're going through it as well. But the guys are going through it every single day, and so there's disappointment, and you got to try to find a way to keep them upbeat and keep them even and keep them enjoying what they're doing, and so to finish the year off and to win back-to-back games, the last week of the regular season was, I was very pleased with how they competed and how they stayed even and they continued to fight and battle, even though there were a ton of adversities throughout the year.
And I know another thing, too, is, you have to be happy for these guys on some level, too, because people, they just look at this. A lot of fans will just look at the box score. They'll look at the website story on the website. They're not there to see, you guys practicing after a game that was a really, really tough loss, when you guys have gone on the road and traveled a couple more hours, or when you guys are coming back from a makeup game on a Monday or a Tuesday night, you're getting back at midnight, and you tell them when you get off the bus, hey, when you got class in the morning, you got to be there. I think a lot of fans probably think, oh, they'll just sleep in the next day. For a lot of them, it's not happening. They're going to class the next day and having to get up and fight through that adversity, the very next day. So it's not something that they get to put aside. It's kind of it's a full-time job to deal with it, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, it is. It's it's something that you sign up for. You understand that you're not. It's not a typical lifestyle for 18 to 22-year-old. Like, you have a lot of responsibilities. It's not that there's a lot of kids out there that have great responsibilities. It's just these guys have to, you're expected to be in class. You're expected to take care of your homework. But at the same time, like, you have to work on your craft. You gotta eat right. You gotta get ample amount of rest. You have to do all the things that are necessary to have some success, in this league and at this level. So, yeah, there's challenges, and I think nonetheless we have to take a step back and put everything in perspective and be grateful for the opportunity that we have to be together as a team and try to make the most out of it.
What's your philosophy as a coach when you go into the offseason in terms of skill development, strength and conditioning? Certainly another thing that we didn't even talk about through all those adversities was injuries, was another thing that bit you guys a couple of times this year. So how do you guys balance trying to give the guys who do need some time off? Israel and Stevie certainly come to mind as guys who could use some rest, but obviously you do want them to get stronger, get faster, get more conditioned, and certainly for some guys there's some potential that can be unlocked, but there's skill development that needs to take place for them too.
Sure. It's the off-season is always a pivotal time, and I think for our guys, kind of what we talk about is like, all year as a group, we ask you to be selfless. We ask you to be team-oriented, together and try to build something special. The off-season is really a time about yourself and really working in on areas and developing areas of your game in which you need to get better at. And a big part with this group is going to be the strength and conditioning portion of it. I'm a believer that the league it takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on you physically, and to be able to withstand that, like, you're going to have to be in tip-top shape. And it's building great habits. It's being in great condition. Having an understanding of what you can put in your body, as far as what you eat on the daily. So just really working with our guys, educating them on how we can continue to get better in that facet. You're always working on your game as far as skill development and shooting and all the skill work that goes into that. So that won't change. It's just really, really paying attention to, the strength and conditioning part and trying to make a leap in the right direction in that aspect.
This year, with the departures that you've had during the season, and certainly the three seniors that are graduating graduating and moving on to bigger and better things, there are going to be opportunities to change the composition of your roster a little bit. What's the philosophy for you going to be during recruiting during this offseason, and what have you identified with the coaching staff as maybe some areas of need or things that you guys are going to be looking for as you're out on the road, either on the JUCO route or the high school route?
Yeah, it's it's going to be a busy spring. I feel like they're all busy.
Yeah.
So we've been working. I mean, the recruiting it never stops.
It didn't start today.
No, it didn't start today.
It didn't, and it's not going to stop when the season starts next year.
Exactly. So it's always, it's something that we do daily. So for us, it's, there's some needs out there to improve our basketball team. We're aware of that, and we're working really, really hard to address those needs, and try to construct a roster that we feel like is going to be able to be successful in this league. And so there's a lot that comes to that, and we're gonna be on the road. And as far as kind of what we're looking for, we want to get guys that come from winning programs. I feel like that is a big area for us to try to get over the hump. Like I said, there are a lot of games where you're just missing that leadership or the understanding of how to go about your business to go win a basketball game. And sometimes you can develop and teach that, but a lot of times it's in those guys. Like, they understand it. They've been there before. They know what it takes. They know what it looks like. And so we want to add that to our roster. I feel like that's really important, and there's a lot of different other aspects that we need to add to our roster that we'll continue to work on, but just guys that have come from winning programs that have had success in the past.
Final question for you. Where else are you headed? Obviously, there needs to be some time for you to take some time off as well and get your batteries recharged. And is any cross-office Xbox 2K going to be coming up against Coach Drew later this offseason?
Probably not for me. I'm not really a gamer.
You probably get one of your players. I'm
sure we could get some guys.
You probably recruit one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm the spectator when it comes to that. So if Coach Drew gets that rolling, I'll get a ticket and make sure I get some popcorn.
Okay.
And grab a seat for that. But we'll try to take some time to recharge, but at this point of the year, it's pivotal, so we'll hit the road this week and try to catch some junior college and some high school basketball games as they get into playoffs, regional time, and sub-state in the state of Kansas. So we'll be out on the road, looking for some future Jets.
Well, I know that another thing, I've seen you and the guys out at some baseball games here. Baseball team is playing really well, so we'll see you guys out at McCarthy Field, but also your son baseball season. I mean, the weather's starting to heat up, and you'll be out at some of those baseball games too, won't you?
Absolutely. I'm a huge baseball fan. Both of my boys play, and
one of them plays with Coach Mouse's son.
Yeah, their teammates are youngest, so they're moving up to machine pitch. So that should be interesting. We'll see if we can keep the attention span or if it has improved in this next spring. But that is, to me, is priceless, to have an opportunity to watch them and watch them grow and play and have a good time. And they love coming out watching the baseball team and just kind of imitating those guys that they see. So those guys, they probably don't know they got some huge fans in my boys, and hopefully the baseball guys keep it rolling.
Well, once again, we lean on these coaches a lot for pregame, postgame, and we don't require more of any other coach on campus than men's and women's basketball. So again, Coach Allen, great to work with you this year. Best of luck. Enjoy your off season in terms of rest and relaxation, and most importantly, good luck on the baseball diamond this spring as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for all you do for us.
Appreciate it so much, Coach. We'll be back, wrap up the Jetcast right after this. are wrapping up the Jetcast today, talking a little women's tennis with Lauren Esfeld, a sophomore, a bigger part junior from Wichita. She is actually the SAAC president, and we're going to get into all of that with her, but we're going to start with the women's tennis teams. They won 2 of 3 this weekend with wins over Dallas Baptist and Maryville. So first of all, Lauren, congratulations on the team wins. How great did that feel to go out there and have some success this past weekend?
I mean, it was awesome. We're gearing up for MIAA play, so we're really excited to start getting those wins and get our confidence before we hit season.
How nice is it just from a team? I know it's an individual sport, but when you're able to go out there and see your teammates and see your partners and your friends have success, how nice is that to get some confidence before you get into those difficult MIAA matches?
I mean, it was really exciting. Amber had a clinch match for us to win, so me and Marilla, one of the teammates, we both almost lost our voice that day because we were screaming so loud. We wanted to win so bad. So it's just a lot of fun, especially getting to be down on a court and screaming for them.
Absolutely.
So.
So how do you feel like you performed in those matches? What matches did you participate in, and how do you feel like you played?
I played pretty good. Just did like an exhibition match.
Okay.
So we were getting some of the other girls some playing time and stuff.
Gotcha. What are you playing this year when you're out there? Are you predominantly a singles player? Have you been playing mostly doubles, or are you kind of in the mix on both sides?
I'm pretty in the mix right now. Still trying to figure out doubles lineup, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So are you not locked in on a partner quite yet?
Not yet. Last year it was Marilla, but we've gained a lot of girls this year, so trying them all out.
How difficult and challenging is that? Because when you play at the professional level, you're playing with a certain partner. When Venus and Serena are together, they know exactly, okay, in this type of a play, this is how we're going to approach it. When you're with someone that you're not as confident with, or maybe the right word would be not as comfortable with, just because you haven't partnered with them as much, how does it force you to kind of change the strategy or change how you would approach a certain play or a certain ball versus where if you were playing with the same partner or a partner you had been with all 4 years, how you might have a little bit more of an understanding of who's going to do what in a given situation?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing I was always taught was just talk. Always talk to your partner. Always yell back to him, yell forward to him. So, I mean, I always take that into whatever doubles I'm playing, and I think that helps kind of adjust everything, and you just know what you're doing, and especially talking in between points.
Do you feel like do you feel like you're a stronger singles or stronger doubles?
Stronger doubles.
So and why do you say that?
All through high school, that's all I played.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because you can have up to 6 girls, and once you get into the postseason, you choose either singles or doubles. So.
Gotcha. What do you feel like makes you a stronger doubles player?
I was coached on that all through high school.
Okay.
My private coaches and my high school coach. So I am very well versed in doubles.
So in the doubles game, obviously, it's a much different skill set that you have to bring in order. And obviously, there is communication that is necessary in doubles that really isn't on the singles side. But the kind of skills that you want, you can be a successful singles player and never approach the net. Not that, you're not a better singles player if you can approach the net, but what do you feel like is the strength of your doubles game?
Net play and then talking.
Okay. So
and I kind of understand where it is going to be coming from.
What do you feel like is something that, depending on who you work with, because there are pairings and combinations that can either enhance strengths or cover weaknesses, and it goes both ways. What's something in your doubles game that you feel like you need to work on over these next 2 years to become a more complete doubles player?
Definitely approaching the net more.
Okay. So
just getting both of us up there.
Gotcha. So maybe when you're back serving, finding the right ways to get up to the net. So you guys are back at Riverside in Wichita to take on MSU Denver, and that is coming up on Friday. How nice is it to be back? And it looks like, looking ahead to the weather forecast, I believe it's supposed to be outdoors, if I'm not mistaken.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
But it looks like we're going to have a day in the 70s.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. How much different is it when you're playing indoor versus outdoor?
Indoor, it's fast court, so it's a lot faster, the ball will skid more, and when you're outdoors you have all the different factors, whereas indoors you don't have wind, sun, anything like that.
I know that there are some players who would prefer to play indoors because you know it's a sterile, controlled environment. Why do you like playing outdoors better?
That's how I learned. When I picked up a tennis racket, it was outside, and then I didn't move inside for a long time, so I had to adjust to indoor.
It's also interesting to hear you talk about the different court conditions because in this country, you know, I think there are more clay courts than people think that there are, especially down in Florida. But, you know, here in the Midwest, you know, it's way too windy for us to have clay courts. So clay would end up, you know, all over, you know, some street probably. But it's interesting to hear you talk about the great difference in court conditions versus indoor and outdoor, because I would have thought that, you know, it would just be indoor court and they just put it, you know, an outdoor court, they just put it indoors. Obviously doesn't work like that. What's the biggest difference in between the two courts? And are they made of the same material, the ones that you're playing on?
Yes, I believe so, and I think just the difference is the speed.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I like being outdoors because I like messing with the wind.
Sure.
You can mess with the ball with the wind, and so I like outdoors better.
Well, and there are some, you know, I think that there are some players who don't like the outdoors because of the wind. I mean, we see that at the U.S. Open back when, you know, Arthur Ashe used to be an outdoor stadium at one point for those of us who are older tennis fans. And, you know, how much of a psychological advantage do you feel like it is when you have a player that's maybe struggling with the outdoor conditions and, you know, being an outdoor tennis player from Kansas, from a very highly reputable Bishop Carroll program, by the way. I mean, obviously, if you're playing over there, you know, next to the football stadium, and it can get just as windy as it can be anywhere in Kansas right there.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely even saw some girls that were from Kansas, and I just mess with them. You throw it up, and they have no idea where it's going because the wind will take it. I mean, you run the risk of it going out, but
sure.
If you hit it in the right spot, it can just take it.
Now, one thing I did want to ask you about is you are the president of SAAC, the SAAC. So for fans who may not know exactly what that is here on campus, because I don't know if we do a tremendous job of publicizing who you guys are, what you guys do. So what is SAAC? And that's how you sound out the I guess it'd be the acronym. Yeah. What is that?
So it's the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, and every NCAA institution is required to have one. You have 2 people from every sport, so they're representing each sport. And you just form that connection between the higher ups in athletics, so that would be our AD Joe, compliance director Mo, and anyone else that we might need to talk to, and take it back to all of the student athletes and just promote a good experience here at Newman.
And you are the president of that organization, so you guys are kind of the voice for any issues that student athletes might have here on campus. That's obviously a big leadership role for you. I don't know if you're a leader if you feel like you're a leader on the tennis team or not, but you certainly are a leader of all student athletes at Newman. How did you come about getting that position, and why did you feel like that was something that you wanted to pursue?
So I became friends with Katie, the last president, and then Shello, my coach, is the advisor of SAAC, one of them.
Katie, she was from the cheer and dance team. Well, yes, that's right. We also had her on the show.
Yes. So I was friends with her. Shello was talking to me, and then it was just kind of a whirlwind, like, hey, do you want to do it? And then they announced it at Jetcast that I was president. So
wow,
it was all kind of bang go.
Yeah. So what are some things that you guys have been working on? Do you like put together initiatives or goals? What do you want the student athletes to get out of SAAC and what you guys do as a committee?
Really just knowing that they can come to me, they can go to any of the SAAC reps, and if they have a problem, then we can get it fixed. If they want to change something, if they want to do something amazing, they want to have some big event, we can try and put that on with them and just help them out through that and make it fun.
So I understand that you would like to return for another term coming up senior year. What's that process? Is there an election? Is it like how does that go about? Picking, because it's not just you. There's kind of like I don't know if you guys use the term cabinet, but you guys, there are other officers in SAAC. So how does that process? How will that process work for picking you or somebody else to be the president for next year?
So it used to be elections, and just my time spent talking to Mo, Joe, Shella, anyone who's dealt with SAAC, they have said the elections just didn't really seem to work. There was always just one person that was, hey, I'll do it, or hey, I want to do it. There might have been two people.
And then they would just get all the votes?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was talking to them, and I was like, well, what if we did it more of an interview process? So you can nominate yourself, or you can nominate someone else. So say I wanted to nominate someone that's a rep to be on the exec board with me, then I would put that in, and it's all going to be sent to Mo, and then you'll sit down and have an interview with Mo, Joe, Shella, Taryn. I don't know who else is going to be on there yet. I'm kind of leaving that up to them.
Sure.
And then interview them, and in that nomination, you'll say either who you think they would be good at. Like if you think they'd be a really good treasurer, they're really good with money. Treasurer, if you want to be like me, I'll nominate myself. I want to be president again. So then they'll interview you for that, and then they'll say who the new exec board is, and we'll announce that at JetSpees.
So that committee will have the power to kind of name the board. Okay, so that's how it's going to work.
And then as a president, you'll get kind of a say in who you want on your exec board.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. So if there's maybe an athlete out there watching this or listening who would like to be involved, how would they go about doing that, putting their name in the ring, so to speak, to be on the 2022, 2023 SAAC?
So for exec board, typically you would have to be on SAAC for a year. I know we have Hayden Vanderpool, he's on it. This is his first year on SAAC, but we added him. I just felt like he was a really strong voice. And then if you want to be a SAAC rep, talk to your coach, tell him that, hey, I want to be a SAAC rep. I really want to make a difference. I want to be a leader on the team. Or you can come tell one of the exec board members, me or any of the other four. We pick everyone over the summer.
Okay.
So the coaches send in nominations, and then we talk through all of them.
So a little shout out to Newman Jets baseball right there as well. Final thing for you, obviously you said you would like to return. So I know you have to go through the full interview process, but I'd like to give you the opportunity to give your first kind of campaign pitch here. Why should the committee put you back in this office for another term starting in the fall of 2022?
I would just like to keep the ball rolling on everything that we have accomplished, changed, anything like that, getting student involvement back, getting just everything rolling again. I feel like we've turned the page on a lot of stuff.
It's been a difficult time to be SAAC president, hasn't it, with everything that's been going on outside of your control?
We've had to be very creative this year. We were very blessed. We got to go to a middle school, and SAAC reps and some people from their teams went and volunteered.
Oh, wow.
So we always try and do one volunteer thing a semester, and we were able to do that. So I was really happy because we could be outside, and we didn't have to be confined indoors and social distance and everything. So it was nice to be outside.
So we will hope that those things will continue to return. So Lauren Esfeld from right here in Wichita, junior on this Newman women's tennis team. Once again, they're taking on MSU Denver on Friday. And what time first serve is for that?
I do not.
Is that set yet? Do we know? So I don't think that has been set yet. Sometimes they do play in the morning. So, but if you can get out there to support the Jets at Riverside in Wichita, I know that they would support it. But of course, we will have all the information at newmanjets.com. Lauren, also former Bishop Carroll Golden Eagle, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
We will be back next week, another Jetcast. Going to try to talk some more Newman Jets baseball. The Newman Jets with a big series win this past weekend over Rogers State. So we'll see if they can stay hot. They've got Washburn coming up. So probably going to be back to Newman Jets baseball next week. So until then, Blake Cripps saying, go Jets.